Hello, everyone. This is Mark Anthony with AI Edge Podcast. Hope everyone is doing great out there. Today, we're going to be having a really cool discussion. We're going to be talking about the 4 pillars of health. Probably wondering what that means. So, we'll be having Dr. Gary Brodeur speak on that. Dr. Gary, you can find him in the Florida area at thesourcechiro.health. thesourcechiro.health. And today, our main focus is not just getting content. A lot of people will just throw content out there. The passion of this channel is to see who we can help. And if we can have one video to help change one person's life, it's worth it. I remember when I first started doing this, everyone out there, I was like, okay, I love doing this because I love talking with people and learning how to find modalities to heal not just my body, but other people's friends and family. So today we have a special guest, Dr. Gary. Thank you so much for being here.
Honor, privilege. Thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate it. Before we kick off with the 4 pillars of health, if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got into what you're doing and where we can find you. And I know that people travel to go to you too. So let's take it from there.
So I'm a chiropractor, been practicing for 30 years. I actually got started in chiropractic when I was 15 from a football injury. Got injured, hurt my back. My parents really didn't know what to do. They had taken me to the emergency room. They'd taken some x-rays on me. They, said, nothing's really wrong. Just here's some medications and maybe a sprained strain, just let them rest. About a week into that, on bed rest, I couldn't really go to school or practice. My coach recommended I go to a chiropractor. My parents reluctantly took me there because they didn't really know anything about chiropractic. But after my first visit there, I was literally pain-free. Now, that doesn't happen with everybody, but I was literally pain-free. I was able to go to school the next day, practice that week, start playing again that weekend. And that's what put me on the path to chiropractic. For me, that was an understanding of why God put me here. And after 30 years in practice in chiropractic, we always talk about the body is designed to be healthy. It can heal, repair, and adapt. It all does that through the nervous system. And the less interference that nervous system has to run and govern the body, the better the body can heal and function. And so that put me on that path. And over the 30 years in practice, I have been a pioneer, a leader in my community to help people, to help families live the most healthful life possible through natural health, chiropractic, lifestyle, and nutrition. And that's kind of what brought me down this path to the 4 pillars. For me, these are the 4 most important things that we need to address with health, because what's happened is our healthcare system has really become a disease care system, a crisis care management system, where you're labeled with something and then you're given a pill for every ill, right? We're constantly chasing after symptoms and not looking to get to root cause. What's fascinating to me is that when you look at, technology and science, and thank goodness we have it, you look at all of the research and people lean on genetics, and they're important, okay? But our genes don't define our health. It's more along the lines of what are called epigenetics, which is environment and lifestyle. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's no known species on the planet that has gone extinct because of their genes. They've gone extinct because of their environment, okay? And humans are not following the same path, but you look at how much money we spend on the treatment, management of conditions, of diseases. You look at 4 to 5 billion prescriptions written in the United States every year. That's 13 prescriptions for every man, woman, and child in the country. Considering that some people don't take them, we're continuing to put money after problems and never getting to root causes. So for me, the way that I like to approach things is understanding that, hey, we're designed to be healthy. The body's really smart if given the opportunity to heal and repair. We have to look at and understand what health is. Health is a state of optimum physical, mental, social, emotional, spiritual well-being, not just the absence of disease and infirmity. But we've been trained since we've been little to think that if we don't have any symptoms, if we're not sick, if we're not expressing some kind of symptom, we must be healthy. And it's just really the furthest thing from the truth. So we need to get back to root causes. And that's what these 4 pillars allow me to do. Get back to the root cause of the problem and get the body doing what it already knows how to do: heal, repair, adapt, and optimize its function at any age.
Question to you about that. You mentioned about the pills and what's going on out there in the world, how we're just giving a pill for everything. It's interesting, and I want to know your thoughts on that. We're, of course, there's always war going around us, but we never talk about the war on the body, the war,
Yeah.
the real war that's going on in the United States. Why do you think that we don't look at it like that? Because we have, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm sure you do. There's probably at least 50 million a year dying, I'm guessing. Not 50 million, but maybe in the millions dying a year because of pills and over medicating. That's not healing, it's just patching.
Well, if you look at the numbers, the third leading cause of preventable death in our country are properly prescribed medications. So let that sink in. We've taken that approach of pharmaceuticals for everything, and we've been taught at a very early age to not question medicine.
Take a
It's
pill.
science. It becomes scientism. Okay. Now we're thankful for the crisis care and that system, and when it's used for what it's designed for, life-saving, for crisis intervention, amen, we're in the best place on the planet for it. But when we try to take that and apply it to what was once a healthy society, we have staggering numbers of, look at our children right now: obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart issues, neurodevelopmental issues off the chart, that autism spectrum from ODD to PDD, right? That is not a genetic shift. That's an environmental shift.
Okay.
We have to do something about it.
You know, I know that we have, it looks like we're going in the right direction, but it's not fast enough. Um, I know that we have a lot of the foods that we're eating have most of the stuff that we have in the store has chemicals. And the reason why I know that, not just because I look at everything, but I focus on my body. How am I being affected? So I have a thing called glaucoma. Really bummer. It's just,
Yep.
it is what it is. I'm praying that Japan will figure something out with the eyes. But so I have this thing called glaucoma, and what's weird, every time I step into a store like a Walmart or a grocery store, my eyes start to get real blurry, and it's
Hmm.
because of the chemicals, which is very interesting. I don't know. I think that I don't know your thoughts on this, but I think that they came in with a good choice of saying, this is going to help you, but it's not going to heal you. But I mean, I don't know what we do from here on, because we've been brainwashed with, hey, take Ozempic. It's fine. It's going to
Mm.
help you, man. I know somebody personally right now that's taking Ozempic, and they didn't want to take it, but they said, if you don't take it, it's going to affect this and this and this, because that person had open heart surgery
Sure, sure.
and has diabetes, has basically
Yeah,
everything under the sun.
yeah.
So he's just trying to live and enjoy the rest of his life. So now the Ozempic's in, and now he's struggling with depression. Now he's struggling with, he's like a gremlin. You know what happens when you put water on a gremlin?
That's right.
So we have all these side effects. And so that's why I love what you do, because you're like, you know what? Let's look at the whole body. Let's look at the root, and let's focus on what can we do right now to get you better, but not having to give you this pill that's going to affect maybe the kidneys, or this pill that's going to maybe affect your earlobes or your
It's like
heart.
throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? And so what happens, even with the things like the GLP-1s right now, it's symptom treatment. We're treating the effects, right? What the effect is obesity. What's the cause? It's
Right.
we've moved in our society from eating whole foods and meals around a table with loved ones and family to, we went from whole foods to processed foods. Now we're having ultra processed foods that our kids are being raised on.
Yeah.
It rewires the brain. There's chemicals in the foods that, when you look at other countries, similar foods, they don't have as many chemicals in them. Okay. So there's a direct correlation to that with our health and programming the body to want more of those ultra processed foods that becomes something that they crave. So we need to get back to eating whole foods, like real food, the foods that are closest to their natural state. One of the things we always teach our patients is, when you're choosing foods, there's a trifecta, right? Foods ideally that are grown locally, foods that are in season, and foods that are organic. If you can get all three of those things, perfect. But I submit to you that a food that's grown locally, even under conventional standards, that's not organic, is healthier for you than a organic food that's come from 3 or 4,000 miles away, because it loses all its nutrients. It loses all of its value.
How does it
So,
lose its nutrients if it's organic? And let's say I live in Santa Barbara County and it's coming from Florida organic.
well, again, the travel time, the distance. Remember, there's no preservatives, right? What's the job of preservatives,
Right.
right? To keep it shelf life longer,
Fresh.
right? Fresh longer to give that. That's why they start to put that appeal, APEEL, on some fruits, on produce right now. And
Interesting.
then when people look at their produce, they don't understand sometimes the PLU numbers that are on the labels, right? So a convention, if you look at your fruit, a conventionally grown fruit or vegetable has a PLU number on there that begins with a 4, right? So let's say a banana, it would be 4011, conventionally grown. Something that would be organic would have a 9 in front of it, 94011. That would be an organic banana.
Okay.
Ones that are genetically modified would have an 8 in front of them. Okay, so
Wow.
we try to get back to some basics with choosing our foods, but something that is a natural whole food is way healthier for us than something that's in a package, right? So when we go to the grocery store, we want to perimeter shop, right? Shop around the perimeter of the store. That's where all the hydration is. It's where all the fresh foods are, right? For the produce, the meats, the seafood, perimeter shopping. Visit local farmers markets. Grow some of your own food. People are almost forgetting how to grow their own food, right?
You
So the
know,
further we get
people
away
forgetting
from
everything, a lot
eating,
of things.
right? So the further we get away from those whole foods and we move towards processed and ultra processed foods, and we're constantly on the go eating fast foods, it's a perfect storm for illness, for chronic inflammation, and for disease. And here's the thing, you mentioned something earlier. We're actually beyond the information age, right? There's nobody listening to this podcast. There's nobody that we could think of, right? Everybody has access to a cell phone today. You've got the world at your fingertips. There's nobody that's missing information. So it's not information alone that's going to get them the breakthrough with their health. So I created something, what's called, and I have this in this functional reset program. It's called the transformation equation.
Okay.
If you want good, lasting transformation in your life, it comes down to really getting really good information times accurate interpretation of that information. But most importantly, the important part of that equation now is the application part. So information times interpretation plus application gives us transformation. What people do is they bounce from one thing to the next. They're seeking information, but it's not being properly interpreted. How does it apply to them, their health, their life at this time? So there's a plan in place. And then how do I apply that to my life? When those things are missing, there's no transformation that can happen with their health. So they remain confused. Where have we come to in our society where we have to teach people how to eat food? It's one of the most natural things that we're supposed to be able to do, grow and eat our own food, right? And we've moved so far away from that. We have every social media scroll you go through, every magazine you see in the store, it relates to diet, to weight loss, to some food that we need to teach people how to eat again. It's just kind of mind-boggling to me.
I would agree with you 1,000%. I think what's happened is you're talking about the information age. We're beyond that. I think we're in the confusion age because
Yeah.
what's going on is we're being inundated. We've been wired since the 30s and 40s without realizing it through television, through movement. And they know psychologically that if you have so much movement going on in your head, what happens is it's hard for the brain, the pineal gland, to make a right decision. It will make a decision, but a right decision. And context is everything. You might get information, but is it the correct information? Who is the information coming from? And not just coming from, but coming from. You
That's
know,
right.
people don't realize back in I think it was the 50s, they wanted to get egg sales up. They wanted to get milk up. What did they do? They did a big campaign on egg sales and why you need eggs and you need to have two pieces of bread and toast and everything, right? That was connected to, let's just be honest, it was connected to big pharma. It was connected to who's connected to big pharma? That's another podcast. So when we start to see where the root is, we need to look at, okay, where's the root coming from, but where's the root in our lives for the healing, for neuropathy, whatever it may be, scoliosis. Okay, let's look at the root. And food is very important. God made it. He made it perfect. What happened is humans got into it. We screwed it up and we started saying, money, we need to make more money. We need to get the chickens fatter. We need to put
Well,
chemicals into them. So
unfortunately, it comes down to that
yeah,
a lot.
yeah,
And one of the things that you mentioned with the pineal gland, right? This all comes back to neurology. So
yeah,
when we boil our brain down, our nervous system down to its most finite elements, right? We're looking at survival, right? And so when the body, so there's a reticular activating system in the brain, and it's constantly sensing our environment. So the body cannot be in growth and defense at the same time. They're two separate parts of the nervous system. You've got your sympathetic nervous system, and this is actually the first pillar of the functional reset. It's the optimizing the nervous system.
okay,
So in the autonomic nervous system, we literally live our lives through the nervous system. It's the very first part of the body to develop embryologically in utero, okay, after conception, right? It's the primitive streak, what will be the brain and spinal cord. 50% of all of the genetic material is reserved for the structure and function of the nervous system. We literally live our lives through our nervous system for the rest of our life. Okay, the organs grow off of the nerves like fruit off of a tree. They're under the
right,
influence of that nervous system. So when we look at the sympathetic nervous system, that's our fight or flight response. And the parasympathetic nervous system, that's our wine and dine, our digest and rest, our slowing down our brake pedal and our gas pedal. When we are constantly in a state of fight or flight, whether it's physical stress, emotional, chemical stress, doesn't matter. The body's under stress. It's in survival mode. It's in protection mode. So it's going to make the choices that are most expedient for its survival. So quick thinking, like eating things on the go, right? Not sleeping, burning the candle at both ends. We're constantly in this fight or flight mode. So what happens when we're in that sympathetic state? Healing shuts down, repair shuts down, digestion shuts down, blood sugar goes up, cholesterol goes up, triglycerides go up. Like all the things that we don't want to happen they happen in a cascade of events, and they stay that way long term. Short term, if the body perceives a stressor, like when we were hunters and gatherers, we perceived a stress, we got ourselves to safety, and then the body down regulated, parasympathetic nervous system kicked back in, and things returned to normal. In today's world, we are faced with one stressor after another. The human brain is not designed, it doesn't have the capacity to handle all of the news and world events that's
it
filtered
doesn't.
into our brain in such a short period of time every day. So it puts us in a constant state of stress. So optimizing the function of that nervous system so the body can control, coordinate, regulate, healing, repair, endocrine system, immune system, all the systems of the body the way that it's supposed to, and orchestrate them perfectly. That is the first pillar of the system that we address. Now, I do that primarily through chiropractic care. I have people that I work with all over the country. So if they're not local to me, they're not going to see me. We want to get them to a good chiropractor in their area, someone who's going to address these things. Once that nervous system's addressed, then we move into the other pillars, but that is the most important one. And that's the one that most people will neglect with their health and not know how to optimize the function of that nervous system.
It's interesting you're talking about the brain. And a lot of people don't know this is that, our brain, it's kind of like little roads that connect, and they're being rewired every day.
Plasticity.
100%. And it can be rewired back, but that takes time, and it takes people like yourself to connect with. You can't just, my brain's going to get rewired. It doesn't work that way. If that was so, everybody would be doing it. But I feel like we've gone so far to the edge that a lot of people say, I just got brain fog, or I'm just getting older. No,
Mm,
no. When you go to bed at night, how many people go to bed at night flicking on their phone? How many
yeah,
people are having a hard time sleeping more than ever?
that's
These
right.
phones were created to keep us up, not sleep. So when you get up in
Right.
the morning, they don't feel like they got enough rest.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
wake up more tired, sore, groggy than before they went to bed.
I would have to say, I mean, you probably agree, maybe disagree, but it's the information overload. You've got to
Yeah,
learn when to cut it off. When you go to the dinner table, be old school. A family that
amen to
sticks
that.
together, prays together, stays together.
Yes.
It's a family with a phone now. I mean,
Yeah.
no one's leading. The phones are leading now. It's funny, you leave the house and you're 20 minutes away and you don't have your phone. You're like, I got to go back. Why? We
It's
got to ask
amazing.
ourselves, why do we have to
That's
do that?
right.
You have to
We're
get that tweet.
so plugged in.
It's interesting. We have these movies that say stories, and we make fun of them, or we say they're great movies. And I used to, when I was a kid, I'm 49, I used to love the Twilight Zone in the 80s. I was hooked on it, dude. I was just like, whoa. I didn't realize that the Twilight Zone was what we're living in right now. Those stories are happening. The Terminator, happening. The machines are taking over. I don't care what anybody does. I mean, look at the name of my podcast. It's AI. Think
Hmm.
about that. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it now. It's we've given too much information. So the only way, what can we do to get that back? What can we do for these neurons to start healing? What
So
do you recommend?
So, in tying in with this, as we go through these four pillars and in
Yeah.
resetting the nervous system, so really important are our circadian rhythms, and they've gotten disrupted by the electricity, the artificial lights, the blue light. So, simple, really, like really simple things that don't cost any money. Get up in the morning. Watch the sunrise with your eyes.
Dude.
Before you put yourself in a computer, on the phone, or on the TV, watch the sunrise. Have a cup of coffee or tea or a glass of water, some electrolytes. Put your feet in the grass so you're grounded and look at the sunlight. And do the same thing at the end of the day at sunset, right? So in the past, that's how our day went, the rising and setting of the sun. Now we've got electricity and we can be up 24 hours a day. And that's not normal for our biology. And so, by resetting those circadian rhythms, simply and naturally grounding, looking at the sunrise and sunset,
Exactly.
those are really easy ways to calm the nervous system down, to reset the circadian rhythms, get deeper sleep. If we're not sleeping, we're not healing. Sleep, again, I mentioned, eating whole food is one of the most natural things we can do. Well, sleep is one of the more natural things that we're supposed to do every day. And we have a multi-billion-dollar industry about helping people sleep better right now.
I know.
It's
You know,
it's just mind-boggling to me.
well, see, here's the kicker. The more sleep that you get and rest, the more function you are. Your body's able to heal.
Absolutely.
But
That's
we're
when
getting
we
less
heal.
hours and we're getting more ailments and stuff like that. I've been taking naps between like 1 and 2
Hmm.
since my early 20s, 21. I remember my pastor told me, he was an older guy, and he's like, hey, it's all about the power nap, bro. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, start taking them now. You'll thank me later. And it's funny. I started my own company back in 2008, and I just did nothing but power naps, dude. So I'd get up at like 5, have my, my cup of Joe, whatever. I'd be at 5, and I would start tailing, and about after lunch, I'd go for a nice walk, and then about 1 o'clock, I'd go back, take my power nap for 30 minutes, and I was popping for another like 7, 8 hours. And we don't need some little energy drink to give us that energy. We have everything, but we've been programmed that we need to plug into the system. We need to get the dopamine. We need to have a cigarette. We need. And so
Yeah.
what's happening is things are imploding and people are wigging out right now. I mean, people are wigging out because of too much just being
Well,
overloaded with
because of
information.
because of the world that we live in, that information, the busyness of the day, we're trained to pack as much into every single day that we possibly
Yes,
can. And then once or twice a year, take a vacation that we plan the vacation more than we plan our everyday life. And the vacation becomes stressful. So we're exhausted when we get
you're
back
right.
from
You need a
that.
vacation for the vacation.
So instead of taking a little bit every day and living a balanced life and doing that consistently over time, that's what we're designed to do, right? But we don't do that. And so all of these things they create the perfect storm for illness, for distress, for dis-ease or disharmony, that we look for something to treat the symptoms so we can keep plugging away in that everyday life. So this is why for me, after 30 years, like getting people back to the basics, looking at their nervous system, looking at what foods, even if foods are healthy, some of those foods are driving inflammation in their body. We're looking at what nutrients they're deficient in. And so what a lot of people have done today is they read a magazine article, they see an ad on TV, they're trying to move away from medications, which is great, but now they're taking 15 different supplements, and that's not the goal, right? So we want to be able to supplement the body only with the things it's deficient with, restore the deficiencies, right? And then the fourth thing is to remove the toxicities from the body. Over our lifetime, we accumulate heavy metals, we accumulate toxins in the body. And because our body's smart, where does it store them to protect us? It stores them in our adipose tissue. And these toxins, especially some of the metals that get stored in the body, they're what are called forever toxins, and they are anti-nutrients. They actually block the absorption of other nutrients in the body, which
Wow.
contribute to disrupting absorption of nutrients, gut health, immune system, endocrine system. And so what happens if we don't know how to handle these four pillars properly, we end up chasing symptoms or effects with pills. Oh, but it's just a small dosage, right? But that, like you said before, that one medication will lead to another. And what we commonly see in the United States, people will go through, they develop metabolic issues. They'll most often develop a high blood pressure issue because again, they're in a constant state of stress. After they've been
Yeah.
on that blood pressure issue for a while, they typically are followed by a cholesterol medication, a statin, and then not within a couple of years after that, they're diabetic or pre-diabetic. That's the American way. Those are the big three. And what drives all of those are the stress, the inflammation, right? So the disruption to the nervous system, its adaptation and healing ability, foods or non-foods that are causing inflammation in the body, nutrient deficiencies that are not allowing the body to heal, repair, and recover the way that it's supposed to, and then an accumulation of toxic load on the body. It shuts everything down.
Wow.
That's what we need to address as the root cause. And when we do that, it brings the body back to what I said earlier, its natural state, its innate state of healing, repair, adaptation. We're designed to be healthy. The body is really smart. It knows how to heal, repair, govern, orchestrate all the trillions of things that happen in the body every day without any outside help. As long as we take care of it and give it what it needs, we remove toxicity and deficiency and we restore sufficiency and purity and let the body do its thing.
So,
And
what
I
is
think
some of the ways that we can get these leads out of our body?
so. The first thing, most importantly, is not guess. Too many people are guessing when it comes to their health. I think I need this supplement. I think I need to do this detox program. We've
Right.
all heard of people who have found a detox or a cleanse and they felt terrible after doing it,
Yep.
right? So they get what's called a Herxheimer reaction. They get sick, flu-like symptoms because they didn't take their body through a proper process. They're guessing when it comes to their supplements. I think I need this. I think I should take this. This is on sale. I'm going to buy that. So instead of guessing, we test. Because one of the things that is critically important for people to understand is something called the minimum effective dose. Now, that's with sleep, exercise, hydration, chiropractic care, nutrition, minimum effective dose. It's
A
the
little bit of
minimum I
everything.
need. We're used to just throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it and just seeing what works and hoping something works. So we want to test so we know where are the disruptions in the nervous system that we need to address and restore. Number two, which foods are causing inflammation in your body? Even though they might be a healthy food, they could be causing inflammation in your body. You may need to stay away from them, eliminate them for 3 months or 6 months to bring the inflammation down. Which nutrients, based on your report, based on your tests, which nutrients are you deficient with? So
Right.
once I know that for my patients, I build a supplement specifically for them that has only those nutrients they're deficient in. So they're not taking 15 other things. And then the fourth thing is eliminating the toxicities and doing it not from an aggressive standpoint, but a slow, gentle standpoint. So there's a three-phase detox program that I use. They're following the dietary plan that I give them because we've eliminated some foods. They're eating other healthy whole foods now. With the body goes through a 3-month detox phase. There's a preparation phase to get the body ready for a healthy detoxification. There's what's called the body phase, where the body now is starting to release the toxins to bind. There's two phases of elimination to release the toxins, but if those toxins don't get eliminated from the body, stage two, they recirculate back in, and that's where they get sick. So we
Right.
have to eliminate those toxins. And then the third stage of the detox is a brain detox so that the brain can actually start to reset and coordinate all the functions of the body that it's supposed to without the interferences of those metals and those toxins that have slowed things down and made it sluggish. So we do that over a 90-day period and then we retest to see what the changes are. So there's
So you
never
said
guessing.
a 90-day period. If I were to come into your office right now, what would that look like if we're going to do like a brain detox?
Yeah, so the way that this goes, and the beauty of technology today is that I see patients all over the country where they don't even have to come into me. We can do
Really?
everything virtually. So
No way.
there's some test kits that we use. Okay. Number one is a blood test that we use. It's done at home and sent into the laboratory. That's going to give us our food sensitivity report. The second one is going to be a hair tissue mineral analysis that's going to tell us nutrients we're deficient in, and it's going to tell us toxicities that we have in our body, and it's going to grade them on a scale of low, medium, and high. And then based on the amount of toxicities there, well, first off, even with the nutrient deficiencies, I'm going to give the patients a list. Hey, you're deficient in these nutrients. These foods contain these nutrients. So you want to eat more of these foods. Here are the supplements that you need to take to restore those deficiencies. But then when it comes to detoxifying, guess what? There are foods that will help detoxify the body. So you want to eat more of these foods. I'll give them a list of that. Then where it comes to the 90-day detox, there's a plan for the prep phase, a specific set of supplements to prepare the detox pathways in the body. The body phase, month 2, again, a shift in supplements to get the toxins removed and eliminated from the body. And the third phase is the brain phase, addressing the brain phase, very specific nutrient protocol to do. Now, during that 90 days, you're following the elimination of those foods that are causing inflammation, and you're restoring the nutrients that you're deficient in. So some of the reports I've had for people, like I have 2 people that I spoke with today. One woman has started, I don't know, I think the end of January, beginning of February with me. And within the first week, she began the elimination part of it. She was sleeping better. She had fewer joint aches and pains, less brain fog. This morning, she told me she was down 12 pounds. Okay. Another person texted me this morning, after about 9 days on the program so far, they're down 14.6 pounds. So remember, the body starts to protect itself by storing these things in adipose tissue. When we start to release the toxins, guess what the body can do? It can start to bring the inflammation down and start to lose the weight that's created over time. Like some of these people have tried all kinds of programs to lose weight, which brings them to the GLP-1s, right? And so that weight loss resistance is because the body's trying to protect itself. So we've got to get back to these 4 things: the nervous system, the food sensitivities, the nutrient deficiencies, and the toxicities. And then the body knows what to do. It knows how to restore, to heal, to repair, to adapt. Now, one of the things that's really important, you mentioned this earlier, is process. It takes us time to get sick. It takes us time to get well. There's no process that doesn't require time. There's nothing that you're going to do that's going to make a lifetime of bad decisions or years of bad decisions with our health go away in a couple days or a couple weeks. It takes time. But if you continually put that input in, you don't even have to do it perfectly. The body's smart, but if you do it 80 to 90% right, in progress, not perfection, over time, your body moves towards health. I grew up in Rhode Island, okay? At one point in Rhode Island, the bay that we grew up on was very dirty. It was very polluted, okay? So they had this organization called Save the Bay. They did fundraisers and charities all the time to help clean up the bay, the pollution that was in there. Today, that water is so pristine, okay? But what they didn't do, they didn't go into the bay and remove all the water and put new water in the bay, right? What they did was they took all the pollution out of the bay. The tides came in, the tides went out. The tides came in, the tides went out. And as those natural cycles of nature took over and we removed the toxicities in the bay, guess what happened? Sufficiency and purity returned. The water's beautiful. It's the same thing that happens in the body. There are these normal natural cycles in our body. We just have to remove the toxicity, the pollutants, and let the body do its thing. And over time, guess what happens? Those things restore, they replenish.
Great
Sufficiency
analogy.
and purity return.
Great analogy. You're basically breaking down, hey, everyone out there, if you're getting these pills that are putting a patch on something and it's only lasting for a little bit, what you're doing is you're just putting more toxicity into your body, as an example of that water, because our body was naturally meant to heal.
That's right.
But you got to start somewhere. So they need to see somebody like you that can help them reset their body, get the 4 pillars in them, basically.
You got it.
And start working that out. And so what you're doing is you're helping people, correct me if I'm wrong, is you are saying, hey, look, we're going to reset, to focus on resetting your body to the beginning of the way that it was created to be.
Amen.
And all these things will start to just go away. But you got to become a disciple for your body, learn your body, what you need to do. And so with this course, is it I mean, how does that work? Is it like just a 90-day course? Is this
So
a
wait,
sort of,
this is great. Now, before I explain that, I just think that it's important to mention one thing, critically important, and I don't want anybody listening to this to get the wrong idea. In the event of a health crisis that requires medical care,
of course.
like by all means, get the medical care that you need, get out of the crisis, and
Yes.
then we can start to rebuild, right?
100%.
There's an appropriate time for those things, and I think it's important that we utilize that appropriately. And I just like to make sure I mention that. So
I agree
when,
with you.
when
People, yeah,
people go,
we thank you for bringing that up. It's the truth.
yes,
You know, we got to be careful, but at the same
absolutely.
time, we have to use wisdom.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, I mean, there are certain things that you do have that people do take to get them out of fear and flight right away. You know, your body. You
That's
know,
right.
like I've seen where you're having what a stroke, right? Throw some aspirin in there under the tongue, boom. What?
Right.
So we can't throw the baby without the bathwater, but we
That's
have to
right.
understand that a lot of these supplements were created. They were not really created for longevity. They were created to get you out of the red
The
right
medications.
now,
That's right.
and then we need somebody like yourself. What can we do to fix
That's right.
everything else?
The beautiful thing with the way that we approach things with this Source RX functional reset is that we can work like this is co-managed sometimes. Sometimes people are still under the care of their medical doctor and they should be. And
Yes.
we don't recommend or try to take them off of medication. We ask them to work with their medical doctor to monitor those things to see how they might be able to be reduced. Some of them might be able to be eliminated, but that's through their medical doctor, not through us. But the healthier they get, guess what? Those medications, hey, look, even if they can't get off all of them, but they're reduced significantly, well, that's better for their health and longevity,
Right.
right? So the way that we go about this over the 90 days, there's a few different ways that people can kind of participate in this program. There are some people who are self-guided. And so what I did was I created kind of an entry-level program for them to get the testing done. I do a full report of that. There's a book that I have that I created here that has, it's called the Source Functional Reset.
Love
Okay.
it.
So they get a copy of that. But there's also, I created a whole online course with 20 lessons that walks them through all of my findings from their testing, a lot of the lifestyle strategies that we've spoken about today, and a lot more in that course. I'll give them the recommendations for their supplements and they can go about purchasing them. I'll order them for them, however I can support them. They kind of do their own thing and they'll check in with me periodically. For some people, they want a more comprehensive plan. So I'll give them that 90-day plan that has the testing at the beginning. It has a testing at the end, so we have a comparison. And then I do what's something called an oxidative stress test they do at home. It's a urine test they do at home every 30 days so they can measure cellular inflammation in their body through a urine test, which is
Smart.
extremely accurate, so they can see it coming down every month. Okay. And so that there's a little bit more of a comprehensive picture. That mid-tier, that pre and post testing, the home testing, that program comes with their supplements, the detox, the 90-day, three-stage detox plan. It's a very comprehensive picture. And then there are some people, I have a limited number of clients that I'll take on to kind of personally coach them. They get a little higher level of service with me, more time with me, that I'll walk them through that over the 90 days. If they were to go to my website, they'll see a page on there called the Source RX that will give them information overview. If people have interest, they can book a discovery call with me where I can get on the phone with them. We can go through a health history to see if this approach is right for them. It's not right for everybody, right? But if it's right for them, then I can walk them through the most logical way to go about the program to get the best results. And that's the beauty of what we're doing right now is that I can see people anywhere in the country. And for those where it comes to the nervous system, I can recommend a good chiropractor in their area that's lifestyle and wellness focused that will take great care of them if I can't be the one to provide that care to their nervous system.
I love it. So it's just you're not just focused on the body, but also, of course, focused on seeing how you can help them and working with other doctors. It's going to match
Absolutely.
their right.
Hey, look,
Wow.
this is about getting sick people well. We have way too many people in our country today, starting, and I've watched this over my 30 years, again, into our youth, how unhealthy our kids are. And we look at, as I mentioned earlier, the number of kids that are on this autism spectrum today, that number has exponentially grown since I graduated chiropractic college in 1996. It's
Wow.
grown exponentially. That is not a genetic shift. That's epigenetics. It's environment. That's what we talked about earlier with the species going extinct, right? It's not because of their genes, it's because of their environment. We need to clean up the environment and teach these kids. If this is our future generation, we need to teach them how to eat, move, think, and live like a natural, normal human being, not someone who's eating their meals out of a gas station or out of a fast food joint, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That will contribute to higher rates of mortality at a younger age, chronic health issues, more and more people ending up on medications, having unnecessary medical procedures. And that only adds to the cost of our healthcare slash crisis care system. The cost is out of control. And I think everybody can relate to and agree with that. And,
Yeah,
and the outcome, we're not getting healthy human beings as a result of it.
yeah, 100%. It's interesting how we call it healthcare, but I don't, for me, where's the health?
That's
Like,
right.
it's almost like patch care.
I was thinking about this last week. Where I come from in Rhode Island, I kid you not, there was literally a coffee shop, one coffee shop for every 40 people in the state. That's how many coffee shops there were in Rhode Island. Okay. And I was driving around here in Florida and I'm noticing a lot of new construction go up. And what am I seeing? I'm seeing a lot of urgent care centers being built and hospitals being built. And it's great that people
Yeah.
have access to that. Thank goodness.
There's a reason.
There's a reason, that's right. And the way that those facilities are growing in number, if one looked at that from the outside, an alien came here from another planet, they would think we must be pretty healthy people if these are healthcare facilities. We're not, it's just the opposite.
Interesting.
So we
It's
have to
very,
do something to change that, and it has to start with our youth. That's why, for me, I've always taken care of athletes. I got into practice because of a football injury, as we mentioned. But my focus in my practice over my 30 years has always been a family practice. I take care of pregnant women, infants, kids through every stage of growth and development because a healthy spine encourages the growth of a healthy individual. And we literally live our lives through the nervous system. So what I do is not so much about back pain or neck pain when people think about chiropractic care. It's a lifestyle, it's wellness, it's being proactive with the body and our choices with our nutrition, our lifestyle, our nervous system, so the body can function the way that it's intended to.
how do we get back? Do you see us getting back? Honestly, do you
I do, and
see?
it takes every single person taking responsibility for their choices and for their actions, and really looking at simple choices of getting back to eating whole foods. Don't guess with your health. Test, get results, interpret the results properly, and then apply the results. That's that transformation equation I talked about earlier, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, I'll submit to you that the more complicated it is, the less likely it's going to happen. It has to be simple. Being healthy is really simple. It's removing the stuff that's blocking the body from working the way that it's supposed to. Start with eating more whole foods. A real simple way for people to start, if they are eating foods that have labels, start with just getting rid of any foods that have added sugar. Just begin there. Drink more water, get rid of added sugars, and watch how your body feels. At the turn of the century, 1900, the average person consumed about 5 pounds of sugar per year. How many pounds of sugar does the average person consume today? It's sugar of all forms, high fructose corn syrup, like all the sweeteners.
How many?
It's well over 100 pounds per person per year.
Wait, and it was 5 pounds?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And sugar drives chronic inflammation and ill health. A little bit, not bad, but when it's in everything that we eat, there's an author, her name is Nancy Appleton, and you can Google this, you can find this document online. It's a PDF. It's 146 ways sugar destroys your health.
Wow.
Start there. Keep it simple, but get tested. That's the big thing. Find someone, reach out to me, get tested, because oftentimes even people eating somewhat healthy foods, if the food is a health food, but their body is having a problem processing it and it's causing inflammation, that food's not healthy for them. They have to eat foods that are healthy for them. So this is why the testing becomes important. So you get tested, you remove those foods, you restore the deficiencies, you eliminate the toxicities, and then you return yourself gradually to a whole food diet. Keep the nervous system healthy, and the body can live and thrive and function the way that it was designed to, the way God intended it to.
Amazing. So if you could break it down into third grade for our viewers out there, which you've done a great job, by the way. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Not saying you didn't do third grade, but you did a fantastic job explaining about the water because that's visually, we're visual people.
Yeah.
If we would break down the four pillars of exactly, how this functions one, two, three, four together and bring it down the middle.
So my everything that I do in my practice is it simplicity is really important to me. So
Yes.
that's why when you look at my company, it says the source for natural health. It says find the source, simplify the solution. So we've got to get to the source of the problem. So number one, when it comes to your nervous system, get checked by a chiropractor. It's probably the most important checkup you'll ever have in your lifetime. There's a lot of different approaches chiropractically, but addressing the health of the nervous system is most often what people are missing. When we go through these four pillars, it's not one pillar that's going to do the trick. They all, most often, people have more than one issue in these pillars. So, number one, good quality chiropractic care regularly throughout your lifetime. Whether there's symptoms or not, being proactive, keeping your nervous system healthy. Number one. Number
Mm-hmm.
two is get tested for the food sensitivity so you know which foods are causing issues in your body to eliminate. Number three, restore the nutrients your body's deficient with. You have to find out through your testing. That way, you're not taking endless bottles of supplements and endless numbers of pills. It reduces pill count, it reduces supplements, it saves money long term. The fourth thing, those forever toxins. Start to eliminate them in your environment, but look at the toxins that are blocking and disrupting your body's natural rhythms and cycles in your endocrine system, your immune system. Get rid of the toxins through a detox. Clean up your home environment. Simple things. Use less plastics, more glass. Don't use the microwave as much. No like just try to clean up your environment. Look at the chemicals you're using around your home. Clean things up and try to move to a more natural approach. Eat whole foods instead of processed foods. Get rid of the sugar. Drink more water. Get more rest. Sunrise, sunset. Some basics.
It's funny how simple it is, but will we do it?
That's right.
And the funny part is, it's not funny. The sad part is that we start to do it when it's almost too late.
Yeah. Yeah. We wait for a wake-up call sometimes, a crisis to motivate us to change. Because when things are good, when there's no symptoms, when we can function, just a little ache or pain or a little grogginess that a ibuprofen or whatever can cover up, we just go on to our day. It's not a big problem until it is a problem. So what happens, these problems develop gradually and then suddenly. And when they happen suddenly, when the suddenly is there, it's like when the engine light comes on in your car. You're not going to put a piece of tape over it and keep driving. You're going to figure out what's going on with it and get to the source of the problem. So that's
Because it's
why I say
bothering you.
find the source, simplify the solution.
Wow. It's interesting. You said something, it kind of hit me because I brought it up. I said, do you think it'll get better? To be honest, when I said that to you, I thought you were going to say, I don't think it's going to get better. And I thought about it for a second because you said it, you believe it will. And
I believe people want it.
yeah, when you said that, I was like, wait a minute, it will get better. And I'll tell you why, because what's going on is we can only handle so much in the data frame that everything's going. It's the fastest ever in history since 9/11. It's the fastest. And
Yep.
I mean, just the last 3 years, everything. And what happens is we'll get excited about it. We'll have that dopamine rush. But what ends up going to happen is we're going to be like, our bulb inside will start to flicker and burn out. Wait a minute, this is off, because our bodies will tell us this is enough. And people will just start, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I want actual interaction with a human being. I need to start eating right. And people say, well, I can't afford it. I go, well, how much is cancer?
There you go. They
I
can't afford
mean,
not to.
you can afford not to. There's no such, it's funny. You really can't afford it. You're just being lazy and you want it quick. And now, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things that we try to communicate with our patients about is something called the life effect. So instead of waiting for that gradually then suddenly that health crisis, what's important to that person? It's different for everybody. What do they value the most? For some people, as they age, the most important thing, they want to be active with their grandchildren or great grandchildren.
yeah,
They want to run and play. That's a life effect. So in order to be able to do that 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road, those choices start today. The diabetes at 40 started at 20, right? The heart attack at 50 started in the 30s,
yep.
right? It's gradually then suddenly. So if we can use that information and have different planning going forward, right? George Burns, remember George Burns? He always said,
The
if I knew I
cigar
was going to
guy.
live this long, I would have taken better care of myself, right? So that we're getting the forewarning that our predecessors who came before us gave us, if we make different choices, better choices, not perfect, we make progress, not perfection, because we're always going to slip up or want to have a little indulgence here and there. Progress, not perfection. And we do that consistently over the long term. The body's natural rhythm is restoration, recovery, healing, rebuilding, repair.
I love it. Progress, not perfection. I love that. That goes with so many things in your life,
Yeah.
not just with your health, but your walk with God, everything,
Everything. Everything.
everything is connected together. Wow. Thank
So,
you, doctor. I just want to say thank you.
yes,
You are a source, just like the behind you. You are a wealth of source. I was about to say resource too, just a source. And I thank you for your passion. Thank you for serving people and focusing on helping as many people as you can. Everyone out there, Dr. Gary Brodeur, make sure you guys go to the sourcechiro.health, the sourcechiro.health. The four pillars of health is what we spoke about today. And remember, everyone, you got to, it's better to start now and start when you're in a lot of pain. And if you're in pain, you can give this doctor a call. He'll do a Zoom call with you, put up a protocol, get you rocking and functioning the way your body is supposed to be. And again, thank you so much. And before we leave, what would your last thing would you say to our viewers before we get off?
find the source, simplify the solution.
Love it.
That's it.
That was perfect. Well, I appreciate you, doctor, and thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. This was a blast.
Yeah, I will have to do this again. Thank you.